NAACP released a poll on Friday that showed while Black Americans overwhelmingly identify as Democrats, over 1/4 of Black men under 50 said they would support the Republican candidate in this year's election. Why do you think that younger male Black voters are changing their association like this?
I think there's especially for younger Black men, there is a frustration. But it's not necessarily frustration with Vice President Harris, and it's not even frustration with the Democratic Party. Frankly, it's a frustration of the pace of progress in America. I think about my state. In my state, when I was inaugurated, we had an 8-to-1 racial wealth gap in the state of Maryland. And that's not because one group was working 8 times harder. That's because of historical policies and circumstances. When I'm the third African-American ever elected governor in the history of the United States. That's not because I'm only the third African-American ever qualified to be a governor. And so I think the thing that we continue to see, and frankly, I think that debate was actually a perfect illustration where for many of us, we grew up being told by our family members, you've got to work 10 times as hard in order to get ahead, in order to get an opportunity. We saw Donald Trump walk on that debate stage uniquely and historically unprepared. And because he thinks he can win on a whim. And so I think the frustration that people feel is real. But I think the thing that we're continuing to push to a lot of voters, particularly African-American voters, is that Donald Trump is a vessel to the skepticism. But what he is not is actually a vehicle for the solution.
It has been quite some time since the last time I did a video specifically on Wes Moore. I think the last time I did a video on Wes Moore, he was in his campaign run to become governor for the state of Maryland, which of course is my state. So you're talking about maybe about 2 years ago since the last time that I've spoken about him, and it wasn't really in favor of him because I believe it was some kind of business event that was happening that was beneficial towards the south of the Borderian community. And I was just trying to tell people, I said, look, don't fully put all of your trust into this guy just because he's Black. Like I keep telling you about these politicians. They say one thing and they do another. So here we are, fast forward to about 2 years later, and I'm talking about him again. And I came across this video on X, and he said a whole bunch of nothing, much like a lot of these politicians. So he was sitting down with the host on Face the Nation, and the woman pretty much asked him, why do you think there's a low voter turnout for the Democratic Party from the side of Black Americans? And then he responds with talking about, Black Americans, but then he breaks it down to even a specific point of Black male voters. The fact that he took what she said from a broad standpoint of Black people as a collective and broke it down, and then he broke it down to Black men specifically, lets you know that he is well aware of what Black male voters have been complaining about when it comes to the Democratic Party, and they can no longer sit up there and say they don't know what's going on. They know exactly what's going on. See, there is a tide shift. There is a pivot that is happening. We have gotten to the point where we're making demands and we're sticking firm in it. And like I and many people in the New Black media have said, we have not moved from that stance. See, a lot of people thought us talking about reparations and tangibles was going to be a fly-by-night operation, like a here today, gone tomorrow type of deal. But as you can see, several years later, it's still being talked about. No matter how many pushback we get from various groups of people, even those who look like us, even those who identify as those who would qualify to receive reparations, we're not backing down. And they see that and they're scared, even to the point where they don't fully address the main issue, which is another thing that Wes Moore did right here when he said, I don't think it necessarily has anything to do with Kamala Harris or the Democratic Party. I think it has to do with the pace of progress in America. Well, we would have a better pace of progress in America if y'all would just stop the BS and cut the damn check. Checks, plural, y'all. Because one simply just won't do. And like I said, also on top of that, ending qualified immunity and an anti-Black hate crime bill. Those are my three. Anything else is extra, but those three for me have to be fulfilled, with reparations and tangibles being at the top of that list. The other two are interchangeable, but as long as they get done, that's all that matters. And if you cannot meet those demands, then I cannot vote for you. I cannot support you, no matter what. Point blank, period. And that is exactly where many of us are right now when it comes to this election cycle. That's why I'm so over it. I'll be glad when it is done. I'll be glad when we can move forward, like past this, because as far as I'm concerned, no matter who gets in, they'll still find a way to make us get the short end of the stick no matter what. So he says all of this, and then he goes into a spill about himself. I'm like, Wes Moore, this isn't supposed to be about you. Okay, this is not about you. This is about black voters. And the thing is, you're getting your chance to plead your case, to tell the reason why that is. She literally asked him, why is that? And he literally sat up there and danced around the subject like many of them typically love to do. Y'all know the reason why it is. Y'all can no longer ignore and say you don't know what's going on or you don't know what's being said on social media. You know exactly what it is. But you keep doing this, and then when you don't get the results you want, then you get upset with us even more. And then it's like, okay, you can get upset all you want, but at the end of the day, you needed us to get you into the position that you were in. Let me just put this on record right now. I didn't vote for Wes Moore to become governor. I actually didn't even vote in that election. I didn't see no viable candidate. So I don't know who voted for Wes Moore, but hey, that's whoever voted for him, that's how he got it. And I knew he was going to win because it was considered a historical election, and you know how that goes. So my vote or not, he was going to win regardless. I already knew what was going to happen. I already saw the writing on the wall. So, and then people was tired, couldn't wait just to get the stench of Larry Hogan up out of there. So there you go, right. And of course, in typical Democratic fashion, they have to always bring up Donald Trump. Now, like I tell you, don't come on here when I get to this part and say, oh, he's supporting Donald Trump. And that's another thing that these shows get me with, is if you say one thing about one of the candidates, they automatically think you're for the other. Y'all better look at the archive. I'm for neither. I've said this, y'all better, especially in the September archive, I've been going in heavy on these shows, on both sides. So don't even try it on here. The minute I get an inkling that you're about to do that, you're getting blocked, or one of my minds is going to deal with it. But he had to bring up Donald Trump and everything like that. I'm like, y'all literally do the same exact thing. This is why I say two wings of the same buzzard theory strikes again and again and again and again. Y'all are not doing anything separate from each other that you have not already been doing. It's blatant. It's obvious. You do it all the freaking time. I don't know why one side thinks that they're doing something so profound that the other side has not done or is about to do or is continuing to do in the process of doing. Y'all literally operate on the same wavelength. The only difference is your tone is different, but your messaging is very much the same. So this could have been a Republican person who was asked the same question and would have did the same dance around thing, but their tone just would have been different, or their layout would have been a little bit different, but it all goes right back to the same goddamn thing. A whole bunch of babbling and a whole bunch of nothing. You have one party that pretends they like us and the other one that blatantly does not like us. Whoop-de-doo. What else is new? But like I said, if you're not fulfilling our demands and what we want and what we need, to be quite honest with you, then we will not, I'll speak for myself. I will not support you. I will not vote for you. I will not rally for you. None of that. None of these candidates, I'm talking about Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, have said they were going to do anything specifically for the benefit of black people. They say a whole bunch of stuff, but they say a whole bunch of nothing. Again, if it's not my three, reparations, tangibles, any qualified immunity, and an anti-black hate crime bill, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it from them. I don't want to hear it from their shills or any of their supporters that aren't exactly on the shill territory. That is where I'm at with this. all of this extra stuff, they can keep it and tell it to someone who's very uneducated about what the process is when it comes to voting or this election cycle. They can have it. I personally, I'm not dealing with it. So when November the 5th rolls around, like I told people on here and off of here, it's going to be a lot of sad faces. It's going to be a lot of tears. It's going to be a lot of upset people, and those who get what they want, and hopefully they get what they want, they'll be excited, hopefully for more than just a moment. But as for me, from my vantage point, I'm going to be fine. And I'm sure many others who are voting for the couch, like myself, are going to be just as fine as well, because to me, it's gotten to this point. November the 5th has now just become almost another day for me. That's literally what is literally what it has now become for me, is just another day for me.